Hi, if you're a woman on a GLP-1 like Mounjaro or Wegovy for weight loss or weight maintenance, you may be worried about the recent talk of pancreatitis, especially when it's linked to deaths and hospitalisation. So despite having taken your health into your own hands and feeling like you've had that final chance to change your weight forever, this news might have hit you like a ticking time bomb. It's easy to become concerned or just hope it won't happen to you. But I believe you deserve more than just crossing your fingers. If you know the facts about pancreatitis and a GLP-1, you can assess your own risks for pancreatitis, know how to reduce them, and know when to reach for medical help if you need it. I want to share with you what the news articles and the online providers don't tell you, especially if you're a woman, because the risks, for us, they're different. Hi, I'm Helen Bligh. I've over 30 years' experience, both as a dietitian in the NHS and training the science of diseases and their treatments, including GLP-1s, in the life sciences industry. So, although I'm not a doctor, I'm sharing evidence based on what we have known for years, combined with a thorough search of recent scientific publications related to GLP-1s and the risk of pancreatitis. I've also used a GLP-1 for my own health journey. First, I want to reassure you that although acute pancreatitis can be life-threatening, the absolute risk of acute pancreatitis with a GLP-1 remains relatively low, and the benefits to your health of losing weight with a GLP-1 are substantial if they're done in the right way. It's not surprising that we're seeing more hospital admissions here in the UK due to pancreatitis, because more and more people are using a GLP-1 for weight loss without being under the active care of specialists. The pancreas is a vital organ for digestion of protein, fats, and carbs, as well as the essential hormones for blood sugar control. So we need to preserve its function. I'm seeing women on high GLP-1 doses to increase the rate of their weight loss, which can be dangerous for the pancreas, as I'll share. So it's important to consider more than the number on the scales. People often think that it's high alcohol intake which causes pancreatitis, but studies show that this is more likely to happen in men. For women, there are two main ways in which acute pancreatitis is most likely to occur. The first one, and most common, is indirectly through gallstone formation. And the second one is through very high blood levels of triglycerides. And I'll explain very simply how this happens and what it means for you. Let's start with the first one, the one that's most likely, and that's gallstones. Gallstones are small, hardened deposits, often made by cholesterol, that may form in the gallbladder. Now, they could be as tiny as a speck of sand or grow to the size of a golf ball. Just to be clear, we need cholesterol. It's essential for hormone production, cell repair, and brain health. The issue isn't cholesterol itself, it's when it becomes out of balance in your body. So let's go back to the gallbladder. The gallbladder stores bile, which is continuously made in the liver, and bile helps us break down the fat in food and gets rid of some waste products as well. That's when stones can form. When we eat fat, bile is released from the gallbladder into the gut. Gallstones are surprisingly common, especially in women, but they're asymptomatic, so we don't know they're there. Gallstones become a problem when one gets stuck. If it blocks the bile duct, which is where the bile drains from the gallbladder into the gut, it can cause gallbladder inflammation. If, however, it blocks the duct that's shared with the pancreas, it can trigger acute pancreatitis, a serious condition that causes inflammation of the pancreas and requires urgent hospital treatment. Gallstones tend to form when the composition of bile changes, perhaps if there's too much cholesterol. If the bile becomes less fluid and doesn't flow as well, it becomes sludgy, or if the gallbladder doesn't contract as well to get rid of the bile. So, what puts you at an increased risk of forming gallstones? This is an opportunity for you to consider your personal risks and what you might want to do about them. Whilst we can't rank them, the more you have, the greater your personal risk. We have known about these for years. This is nothing new. First one we know from bariatric surgery is rapid weight loss at more than 1.5 kilos, that's 3.3 pounds per week, or more than 10% of your body weight in 6 months. The second one is a BMI greater than 30 due to the higher levels of cholesterol in your bile and insulin resistance. Next one, we can't do quite so much to change, and that's being female due to our hormones, estrogen and progesterone. So if you've had multiple pregnancies, you're more at risk because of the higher hormone levels. Also, current or past hormone-based medications. The synthetic estrogens and progestogens used in oral contraceptives and some HRTs can cause increased risk. However, the HRTs that use body-identical estrogen and progesterone are much reduced. Being on a low-fat diet long-term is also a risk because your gallbladder isn't being stimulated as much, causing bile to stagnate. Being white, and any past gallbladder pain that you might have had, especially if the symptoms were after a fatty meal, because this could suggest undiagnosed stones. So this leads us to the question, what difference is your GLP-1 making to the risk factors that you may already have? So we know GLP-1s cause rapid weight loss, especially at the beginning of treatment. So keep your weight loss within that limit of 1.5 kilos or 3.3 pounds and not more than 10% of your body weight in 6 months. Secondly, in the same way the GLP-1s slow down stomach emptying, they slow down the release of bile from the gallbladder, so gallstones are more likely to form. Finally, GLP-1s suppress your appetite. So this can lead to two things. One, you skip meals altogether, or the second one, you don't feel like eating fat. And both of those means the gallbladder isn't being able to express the bile. All of these are within your control based on your dose. If you are under the management of a specialist medical team, your risks would be assessed and the appropriate advice given. Unfortunately, this doesn't happen with online pharmacies, and some even push you to increase your dose, which may work against you long term. So really stand your ground. If you want to stay on one dose and not go up because of your weight loss, it's really important that you talk to them about that. So I'd like to share what you can do to reduce your risk of developing problems. Eat some fat, but make sure it's healthy fat. Having no fat at all not only reduces your calories, but it also stops the gallbladder releasing bile. Rich foods at every meal, not just supplements. Because fibre helps your body clear out extra cholesterol. And move your body. Movement supports digestion and metabolism, which can reduce gallstone formation. And stay hydrated. Drinking water helps bile stay fluid and flowing. So that's the end of the gallstone section and how you can reduce your risks. Your second biggest risk factor for pancreatitis as a woman on a GLP-1 is very high triglycerides, which is much, much rarer than pancreatitis from gallstones. And this section is much shorter. Triglycerides are just one of the fats floating around in our blood, and they're actually essential. We use them every day for energy. But like anything in the body, when they get out of balance, that's when problems can arise. In the UK, it's recommended to have triglyceride levels below 2.3 millimoles per litre, and that's at a non-fasting blood test. If it's a fasting test, the level is 1.7 millimoles per litre. When triglycerides are above 10 millimoles a litre, they can damage the tiny blood vessels in your pancreas, causing inflammation and pancreatitis. And the risk of pancreatitis increases progressively with serum triglyceride levels over 6.5 millimoles a litre. So it's recommended to have a baseline blood level done before you start your GLP-1. Because if you've got raised triglycerides when you start your GLP-1, it may put you at additional risk of pancreatitis. Now, the great news is that being on a GLP-1 has a positive impact over the longer term for your triglycerides, as well as other blood fats such as cholesterol. Perhaps you see the results within 3 to 6 months. So let's have a look at what's within your control to manage this risk. First of all, I'd have a blood test done either through your GP or privately to work out what your triglyceride levels are. If they're raised or you have any concerns, that's the time to speak to your GP. What you can do from a dietary perspective is lower your sugar intake and your alcohol intake, because these both increase triglycerides. Increase the fiber content of each meal, because this reduces your post-meal glucose and insulin spikes, thus reducing more triglycerides. Keep saturated fat and trans fat to a minimum. Trans are mostly found in processed foods, and saturated fats is solid at room temperature, usually from animal sources. Increasing your physical activity, especially resistance training, because muscles burn triglycerides even when you're not exercising. And continue to have your blood levels checked so that you know what's happening in your body. So if you get pains in your tummy and you're wondering what they are, I'd like to take you through the differences between gallstones pain and acute pancreatitis pain. Remember that this is to keep you informed, not to alarm you. Gallstones, as we know, the main trigger for women for pancreatitis, might feel like sudden pain in the upper right of your tummy, especially after eating a fatty meal. Pain that radiates to your right shoulder and upper back. This might be accompanied by nausea and vomiting, perhaps an hour or so after meeting. Pain lasting 30 minutes to several hours, which isn't relieved by bowel movements and isn't relieved by antacids, i.e. it's not heartburn. Red flag symptoms to act on urgently, severe pain that doesn't ease, dark urine, pale stools, fever above 38 degrees with yellowing of your eyes or skin, and feeling very unwell. Pancreatitis is upper abdominal pain, which is sudden, severe, and radiates through to your back, and that is your most common symptom. Nausea and vomiting often accompanying the abdominal pain, along with a temperature, and it's severe and persistent. Get yourself to A&E. I know that many of you haven't told your next of kin that you're on a GLP-1, and this would be a good time to share with them or whoever's with you, just in case you become so ill you can't speak for yourself. And if you're talking to your GP about any concerns that you have from watching this, share with them that you're on a GLP-1 too, so that they can make an informed decision with you. In summary, let's be clear. You've taken a bold, proactive step for your health, so well done. You just haven't been given the full picture. Now you can recognise the risks, manage them, and stay in control, not just focus on the number on the scales. I hope this has been useful. Take care.